This episode of Poplink was filmed at Black Hand Studios. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak on the fandoms we love so much in your studio.
And then, all right, what's up? We are Poplink. This is the first time we do the second time we do a pre-recorded.
Yes.
We changed the format from live stream to pre-recording for the simple fact that it's a lot easier for us to really keep in touch with things and make sure that we're on point with everything. So we're just gonna do a round robin and say hello. Starting with you.
Sure. So I'm Rob. I guess new to the podcast, so thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
Yes, thanks for joining.
Oh yeah. All right.
Okay, I didn't.
And that's Rob.
Yeah.
So
Want a nerd resume? My bona fides.
I think you're bona fide as a nerd.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But let's do it anyway.
Yeah, sure. So I actually went to school for animation. Grew up on it. Wanted to be an animator. So collected comic books my whole life. Still do to this day. Not as much anymore, and that's mainly just because it's an expensive hobby, right? To continue to do that, and nothing's really kind of grabbed my interest lately as much as some of the older storylines. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in length at some point. But yeah, grew up on loving traditional animation, 3D animation as that came to be. But was trained as a 2D animator. That is what I was going to school for. Don't do it so much today as a career, but more so as a hobby. You know. But yeah, I follow everything from comics is kind of what I know. My useless knowledge on comics is vast. I can tell you what Clark Kent's social security number is. It's 092096615. Yeah.
You're a big Superman fan. Okay.
It's my favorite hero.
That's fair.
So yeah, it's my favorite DC hero. Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel hero.
Nice.
But there's a lot of characters that I love, and I like a lot of the more obscure ones. To be honest, like Ambush Bug. Or some
that
weird,
really obscure.
Mxyzptlk, or the weird ones that not everybody talks about. Swamp Thing, as probably.
Well, you and I have had extensive conversations about Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing's one of my favorite characters. It's just and it's really because of Alan Moore, but
of course.
But yeah, I mean, but anything from one of my all-time favorite cartoons of all time is Batman the Animated Series, which. You would know. You just did a very lovely Joker tattoo for me, 2 weeks ago?
About 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
We'll drop it in the video.
Yep, which is...
Right here somewhere. And
no, it came out absolutely incredible. But yeah, it's anime, watch a ton of anime. Probably my all-time favorite on that side is Outlaw Star. Came out around the same time as Cowboy Bebop, so didn't get as much hype, at that time. But something about the space opera-ness of it really got in the magic system and everything in there kind of grabbed my attention. But obviously the big shonens, One Piece, Dragon Ball,
My Hero.
Yeah, My Hero, obviously. That one's still almost ending, right? I think it's getting close to
its in its final arcs.
It's it's getting near its end game, yeah. So very, very interested about that. But yeah, it's I guess a little about me, but I can obviously go on at length.
And we'll probably do that as the podcast goes on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, so, your turn. Just for the new people that don't know us.
Just for the newbies, I'm Justin. I'm big. I'd say my top 3 Geekdom properties is comics, as far as Marvel and DC, Harry Potter, and then Star Wars. Big on Harry Potter. Grew up reading the books. My grandma got me into the books early.
What's your house?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay. Hufflepuff.
Okay, all right. I'm down with the puffs.
I heard I was Slytherin.
Okay.
Yeah, you're probably a Slytherin.
Yeah.
I can definitely see
I
that.
don't know. I'm not a big Harry Potter.
There's a website that can help you. So.
Yes. We'll get you sorted.
Yeah,
all right, that's fair.
And Star Wars has also been forever. I remember the first time seeing Darth Vader was one of the grandest things I'd ever seen. He just commanded the screen, and it was just full throttle. I was just like, "What is this?"
I mean, part of that's also the stormtroopers not hitting their targets.
Yes.
So,
yes.
That's fair.
That is.
I did read somewhere that somebody said the reason why stormtrooper shots are so bad, it's a manufacturing glitch in the blasters. The sights are all wrong. So I was like, I like that as an in-canon excuse.
Those are excuses.
Yeah.
When in actuality they can't hit the backside of a bantha, but that's neither here nor there. And as far as Marvel and DC, I would agree with you. Spider-Man is my Marvel guy. Batman is my DC guy. Batman is probably my end-all be-all because it's just amazing to me what the human mind or what a human is capable of. What he demonstrates, what can be possible. Just he doesn't have flight. He doesn't have anything.
Just sheer grit.
Just sheer grit, brawn, and brain
Yeah.
to save the world. And it's like, it's something so simple, but just so extravagant at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that as well. I mean, Ben Affleck with Justice League in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
both versions,
Mhm.
the Joss Whedon and
Sure.
the Zack Snyder version, which we all know is Zack's superior. But anyway,
Mhm.
what's your superpower? When Flash asks him, he's like, I'm rich.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then sheer will, didn't get through anything. And then enough time where he can actually plan things out.
That's the whole thing. Is if you give him enough opportunity, it's tough. He's a tough one to beat. And yeah, to your point too, it's like he didn't even start out wanting to save the world. He just wanted to save a city. That was his job.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
and then it's gone like universal in length of what he's willing to do and help with.
Well,
on
Batman
that side.
Incorporated just perfectly proved that,
Exactly.
which we can get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But, my bad. Continue.
So, yeah, and then I'm also a fan of some of the more, I love Swamp Thing.
Mhm.
Swamp Thing's awesome. What are some of the other more obscure characters that I like?
I can tell you like one of mine in the same vein as Swamp Thing is Etrigan, the demon.
Oh,
Etrigan.
Yeah, like that. It's just like the weird ones that and again he's in Batman a lot. Like he actually interfaces with Batman in a lot of books and cartoons.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, John
Rise,
Constantine,
Form of
John
Man.
Constantine.
which is the reason for Swamp Thing to begin with.
Correct. Yep.
Damn, there's so many.
There are so many.
Wow, we can
I don't
do
know.
a podcast on that when we make a list of it
Because
and talk about them.
I think of Raven. I don't think you can count Raven as an obscure character with her role in the
Yeah,
Titans.
it depends.
I would say she's probably more in the subconscious of people now, just because I would say when the first Teen Titans cartoon came out, nobody knew who Raven was unless you read the books.
Exactly.
Now obviously they've had multiple cartoons. They have the TV show that I think just is finishing up.
Yeah, it's finishing up Titans.
Yeah.
Which the first season pretty much revolves around her.
It's
Yes.
all her story,
Yeah,
and
it's all her.
it's ending with her story almost again. It's almost like bookending.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
With you get to meet Trigon, which is her
Her
father,
father,
which
yep.
is also in the mythical world of DC. Oh man, there's so much you can do with that alone.
yeah, there's multiple deaths in that universe
Oh.
just because you don't know which one to pick. You could either pick from Sandman. You can pick that version of death. There's Necron from the Green Lantern. He was the Black Lantern Corps
Mhm.
one.
Also death.
There's Death the Black Racer from the Flash.
Yes.
So there's a lot of different
Red Death now.
Yeah. So there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of variations. I think they said there's 7 versions of Death in the DC universe, and I was like,
At
oh,
least.
shit.
Yeah, because they also incorporated Vertigo into DC, which was then
Mhm.
it was Vertigo, then DC Black label, then DC.
Yeah, I don't think they have a label anymore for the darker ones. I think right now everything's just game. They don't need to sensitize it as much as they previously did.
I mean, what are you gonna do? It's just so much.
Yeah.
There's so much content, and they always interceded. They always intermingled.
It was the same with Marvel Knights. They tried the same thing with Ghost Rider and Blade and all the darker characters, and then they just said screw it.
The Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a whole new Midnight Sun series too.
Yeah.
That I don't think anybody's even talked about recently. But it was actually pretty decent.
I haven't read it, but I always like the old ones, and it looks like that's kind of where they're trying to plant the seeds a little for
Finally.
the MCU to do it.
It's been 20 years.
Well,
It's been 20 years. The other day I was thinking about it, I was like, oh my god. Midnight Suns got introduced 20-something years ago.
I wonder if it's because of the game, too. Because that
I'm pretty sure
the
it
game
is.
came out, 6 months ago or something like
And
that.
it did well.
Yeah.
It got a good reception for it.
Yeah.
So. Well, I guess it's my turn then. We just went on a tangent.
Yeah,
It happens.
on to you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Xavier. I am a local tattoo artist from South Florida. I went to school for animation as well. And then ended up doing graphic design. And then ended up tattooing. Now I'm hitting 16 years July 1st of 2023. It's crazy, right?
Oh,
I was
sorry.
like, oh damn. My fandoms are everything, really. I mean,
That's a fair
anime, comics,
cast that wide net.
video games,
Yes.
Yeah.
manga, which all falls under anime as well.
Yeah.
Animation, because we had a conversation before you got here about Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse,
Mhm.
and it was like, oh, we both know about animation pretty well, and how it was filmed on two different types of runtimes, and I was like, it was a good conversation, but we can get into that again.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to bring it up. Yeah.
But fandom, as in comics, I'll break it down as DC, Marvel, and obscure Image as
Yeah.
well. I like Dark Horse a lot too. Dark Horse, Hellboy, even though the Goon's really underrated as well. DC, Batman all day. I've always been a Batman guy. He's my favorite fandom overall.
Mhm.
I have a very large Batman collection in my house and some in my station. And then I have to do an honorable mention of Green Lantern.
I love Green Lantern.
And my Green Lantern, even though I grew up with Hal Jordan, I very much grew up with Kal Rayner.
That's my man.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
He's my favorite.
Come on, he's a cartoonist
Exactly.
who became a Green Lantern. How cool is that?
Exactly. And though John Stewart is also really good, I like Kal Rayner, man. He's a nerd. He's like a nerd.
There is a comic, not to take you off of your description, but there is a comic that I always love. It was Green Lantern versus Alien that they came out with like many years
It was
ago.
the
That was
90s.
that Kyle Rayner was in. And he'll do things like normally if a person falls off a cliff, Green Lantern will make like a catcher's mitt or something to catch them. He literally creates Superman to catch the person and take him down to the ground. And to me, that's like next level. Like
That
Yeah.
is.
because he's a huge nerd,
Yeah, his imagination's just out there.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if they were ever do a Green Lantern, I would love to see him as the main. Like a rookie being brought up by Hal Jordan and John Stewart and Kilowog.
Or even if it was just the original story where the Green Lanterns were all killed off because of parallax.
Yeah.
And he's the one Green Lantern that has to do everything. He's for all sectors.
Yeah. Well, because he becomes Ion.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it
That was
came
10 years
out,
ago.
15 years ago or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Then for fandom on Marvel's aspect of things, I'd say some obscure as well,
Okay.
but not that obscure with
Sure.
Marvel. My favorite character in the Marvel fandom would be Nightcrawler,
Okay.
Kurt Wagner,
Who's
And-
becoming Spider-Man? And,
who is now becoming Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and then Spider-Man will be my second, ironically.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody
So-
loves Spider-Man.
Everybody loves
Down to
Spider-Man.
earth. Nothing goes his way.
But which
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
Spider-Man though? This is the other
I
thing,
mean,
too.
I grew up on Peter Parker.
I did too.
But my favorite is Ben Reilly.
Same,
Because
Scarlet Spider.
even though the clone
All
arc
day.
is panned to hell and back, nobody it always gets a lot of crap. He is an awesome Spider-Man or
Yep.
Scarlet Spider, if you wanted to go by that, because he was like Peter Parker with an edge. Like he got sick of everybody's crap, and he's like,
He
well,
went blonde.
yeah, he went blind. And like when he would fight Venom, like Venom was like, oh well, I fought Spider-Man a million times, and Ben Reilly kicked the crap out of him because he didn't hold back. He's just like, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to take you down. He invented impact webbing.
Yes.
Which I always love. It's just a big ball of webbing that just expands and wraps you up. Like he was invented,
And that was in his own arc, like his own Scarlet Spider
Yes.
storyline.
Yeah,
That wasn't even the Clone Wars part.
yeah.
That was the crazy thing. So I'm sorry. Continue.
No. But I've always liked Ben Reilly. I'm not a fan of some of the things they've done with him recently, like where they keep bringing him back and taking him away and bringing him back. But
I mean, just recently, Kane Parker now is Scarlet Spider,
yeah,
and it's like I don't even like that costume.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. No, nothing's better than the hoodie that he stole from the museum.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So okay, so there we go with that. And yes, my iteration is Scarlet Spider.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love him.
Video games. I love horror survival and shooters all day. I love horror movies as well. Sci-fi
Yes.
horror. That's another like big thing of mine.
Oh yeah.
And best sci-fi movie in my opinion, Aliens, which is Alien 2.
Okay. Well, yeah. I was about to say plural. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And then horror film, I'll say classic horror. Not even classic, but it falls into the classic because of time frame wise.
Sure.
When it falls under 25 years. Exorcist.
Okay.
the trauma that's hell out of
can't
it.
go wrong. Yeah.
And new recent horror, I'd say Hereditary.
Okay, I think everybody's kind of in agreement. That movie is messed up.
Yeah. And then honorable mention, 2013's Evil Dead.
I mean, that was a really good remake of, and again, Evil Dead 2 is one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. So I'm in agreement, and I think what they did with that movie was smart. It kind of turned it on its head. I don't want to spoil it if nobody's seen it before, but it has a very interesting
It's 10 years
twist.
old, though. So you can kind of throw it in there if you want.
The fact that the individual who, like, first, I love the why they're in the cabin is they're trying to detox a friend who is trying to, like, rehab off of drugs.
Yes.
And I think that's an interesting reason of, like, why we can't leave this cabin, right? It's like we can't leave her behind, and all that. But the fact that she is essentially the one who turns into the Deadite first is, like, the one terrorizing everybody throughout the entirety of the movie for the most part,
Yep.
and then becomes the hero at the end is a very interesting twist on the formula,
Well, it is.
Yeah.
But it was also done with Ash.
It is to an extent, but like not to the level that they did with and I can't remember her name just because it's been forever since I've watched the movie, but Beth's from the new one, so it's not Beth, but I don't remember, but I think that turn was very well done because I didn't expect it. I had a feeling her friend was going to originally be kind of the hero.
So the guy with the glasses?
Yeah.
The one that summoned the daylight?
Yeah. And like I thought it was going to be like his job to, like, oh shit, I did this, so now I got to fix it. But it kind of turned on its head, so I appreciate it for it. And also it's just gory as all hell. So appreciate it. And even like before that one, Drag Me to Hell, I have a very big appreciation for.
Which all falls into the same exact universe too.
Sam Raimi universe.
Sam Raimi all day. Yeah. I think Sam Raimi is the GOAT.
It's my favorite, one of my all-time favorite directors.
Yeah, that's fair.
GOAT of horror. There's no one. Okay, let me phrase that. There are different styles of directors that are great.
Correct.
Ari Aster is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Different horror altogether.
But different horror. Yeah. Yes, but I think overall, as in like comedy, horror, all that stuff, I think he's the best.
I will say, I think the movie that messed me up the most, like when I was watching it, I was like, I don't know if I want to finish this. When I was younger, was Event Horizon.
That was a great film too.
That movie screwed me up, from watching, because it like when I remember playing Dead Space when that first came out, I'm like, man, this has got massive Event Horizon feels.
100%. 100%. Which is, by the way, one of my favorite, at least top 3 games.
I think I beat it in one sitting. I was like, I remember starting that game like when I first got it, and then when I finished it, I'm like, why is it dark out? Why am I hungry?
8-hour, 12-hour game.
It's like I think I beat it in like 9 hours or something like that, and I was like, why is it dark?
Yeah. And it was extremely hard.
Yeah.
It was extremely fucking hard.
I loved it though. Yeah, so good.
We'll beat that out post-credit. Anyway, and then final thing, manga, anime. I think I'm into all the shonens.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite manga of all time is Berserk. Kentaro Miura, there's a piece. And favorite anime, I'll give you top 3.
That's fair.
Top 3 is Cowboy Bebop.
Okay, of course.
Trigun.
Love Trigun. Yeah.
And because, well, you know what? I'm just going to say it. I'm going to get heat for it. My Hero is great. I think My Hero...
I love My Hero.
Kind of beats out certain fandoms. No disrespect to Naruto over here. Although, Pokemon's up there too.
Oh yeah.
I think My Hero, I think its power scaling is actually quite good, and that's the one thing that always gets on my nerves with like certain anime or certain manga is like the power scaling gets out of control at a certain point. Like Dragon Ball obviously has it.
Yes.
Like once Super Saiyan came into the mix, it was like, okay, it's all gone now.
Yeah.
Like there's like power levels. What the hell is that anymore? Like that doesn't even like exist in this universe any longer. And Naruto obviously has some problems with that as well. I think Naruto gets like 17 forms in the span of 100 chapters. It feels like he gets
towards the end it kind of avalanches.
Yeah. And again, it's hard. It's hard to do that. It happens on all of them. But I think My Hero does a really good job with its power scaling. I mean, it does. Once it gets into like Deku's like vigilante kind of arc. And I'm not going to go because that's fairly recent. I'm not going to go into detail on that. It does kind of snowball quickly. But for reasons that make some, pretty good sense. Mm-hmm. My biggest, I think, gripe with My Hero is it introduces a lot of characters, especially with Class like 1A and
That they never go back
that they
to.
never really touch on. It's really just like, here's Bakugo, here's Deku, here's Todoroki. These are the main three you're going to really follow. And the rest of them are kind of just like, they're there, and they might do something cool every once in a while, but they don't get fleshed out, which, again, that happens. I mean, One Piece has that same problem. There's Naruto does too, like after a certain arc, like what happened to the bug guy, or like, or any of them. They come into play every once in a while and do one cool thing, and then you never really see them again.
Factual. Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about My Hero too, that I'm just like, all right, cool. Gran Torino just recently got back in the mix.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if you watch the anime or if you even read the manga, and this happened about a year ago in the manga.
Yeah.
Gran Torino played a very important part for the Vigilante arc that's happening right now, which I believe is like one of the final arcs. We're either in the final arc or we're coming really close.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, the perfect example. And then All Might, prevalent, kind of tapers off into background character
for a long time too.
So
yeah, I mean they put him into the mentor, type of spot that everybody, big characters sometimes get relegated to eventually. Kakashi gets kind of relegated to that for a while too, until he gets relevant again later on in the story. But it looks like he's starting to get some relevance again where the manga is currently. I'm not going to obviously say anything for those who are playing catch up at the moment, but yeah, he plays a role that's needed. But to your point, he does kind of fit in the background for a while because they have other characters that kind of fill that void as well, like Eraserhead and some others as well. So
favorite character of the series, by the way.
Probably right up there.
Aizawa, all day. The best character.
Right up there for me also. Yeah, there's some, I like the characters. They're goofy. They opened up a world where they can animate it any way that they want to. It's like, oh, this dude's got a bird head, or for what reason? Because they can. Why not?
Yeah.
That's a quirk.
Yeah. Or it doesn't even, and some of it's not even a quirk. There are like heteromorphs or whatever they call them that don't even have quirks. They're just, that's the way they were born eventually. So.
Well, because the mutation gene.
Yeah, because I can't remember his name now, but the one who has the shadows power.
Tokiyami?
Yeah, Tokiyami. Like, he doesn't, that has nothing to do with his actual power. It's just,
Dark Shadow,
it's the fact that he just is that, which is interesting.
Which, by the way, if you guys haven't read it, they're My Hero as
I've caught up, yeah.
Have you read the side novel, the light novels? Or the side quests?
I read a little of the Vigilante ones that came out.
Vigilante's cool.
Yeah.
But there's another one that just kind of started up. It's recent. It's called Team Ups. Yo. It's like side missions that the characters are going on. That's just like, I can't give anything away because it's going to be different.
So it's kind of like what Marvel did back in like the 70s and 80s where they wanted to really push a character that wasn't popular. So they would team up Doctor Strange with Spider-Man. And for like an issue or two, and then they're like, "Who's this Doctor Strange guy? I got to find more books about him."
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So I recommend that highly because it's really fun. It's a really fun read.
Yeah.
Now, in closing, the last thing I love is Pokemon.
Yes.
Yeah, if anybody's ever gotten tattooed by me, well, my bad. Pokemon and Star Wars. Let me rephrase that. Let me just finalize that out. If you've ever been to my station and got tattooed by me, there is Batman, Pokemon, Star Wars, Resident Evil. There's a bunch of stuff in my station.
Godzilla.
I'm a big Godzilla fan too.
Who doesn't love a good kaiju fight? Come on.
I mean,
we were just talking about Tyranitar as your favorite Pokemon.
It is. Tyranitar is by far because he's Godzilla. He's the Godzilla of Pokemon.
That is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gave him Hyper Beam for a reason. Yeah.
So that will close out my fandoms, which went into a bunch of tangents as well.
It's fine.
But yeah, I mean, that's what brings us together. And this is why I also invited you on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that this is a perfect fit where we can talk about fandoms, nerdom, and just be like, yo, what's on your mind about it?
Yeah.
Speaking on my mind, anybody else been caught up on the writer's strike stuff that's happening right now?
A little bit, yeah.
Vaguely, not as much as I'd like to hear about it. Because I know a lot of shows are obviously now, on hiatus.
And
movies, yeah.
So Ryan Reynolds just got put in a position where he can no longer improv in the movie, in Deadpool 3. Ryan Reynolds' entire acting thing is improving his lines.
Correct, yeah.
But they told me, no, we don't want you improvising. You got to stick to the script that we're giving you through Marvel.
They don't understand how he works.
No.
And why his movies are popular. Yeah.
And this was why I always thought the Fox acquisition was going to be a bad thing, because you now taper off and be like, hey, we're going to put you on a muzzle, and we don't want you really being Deadpool.
And that's my overall problem, I think with the state of the MCU, how it is today at least compared to what it was maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago when it kind of got off the ground. And, without literally any spoilers at all for Guardians 3, the reason I enjoyed that movie was because it was a James Gunn movie and it wasn't an MCU movie. He did what he wanted to do, and obviously has to work within the confines that they give him. But you can strip all three of those movies away from the MCU and they're still enjoyable. You can still...
Yeah, they still stand alone.
Yeah, they stand alone on their own. They tell a full story that you want to see, and it's good. It's not like Iron Man 2 where they have to shoehorn a bunch of Avengers crap into an Iron Man movie and didn't really need to be there because everybody knows it's coming. It doesn't... Yep. We don't need all these weird tangential links to do that. And I think now they're at that point where they're juggling so much that it's hurting the narrative of the story they're trying to tell in each individual movie because it's trying to branch to the next thing, And I think that's probably why I have an issue with that. For example, is you're now taking away what made Deadpool popular is the fact that he breaks the fourth wall. He's a goofy character. He says things that you probably wouldn't expect. You can't really script that too much. Mm-hmm. You have your baseline of what you need to follow, but you need to let him go off and do weird stuff that you wouldn't expect. You know?
I mean, that's also part of the whole Spider-Man thing, too.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is all about quips and, jokes and this and that, and you don't really see that much. Tom Holland's Andrew Garfield did it very well.
Yeah.
But Tom Holland actually was, the first one to kind of, brought it in.
What I always thought was interesting was with Tobey Maguire, he almost never quipped. It was very rare that he quipped to anybody in any of the movies. Mm-hmm. But they made for the very first movie, they did a tie-in game that was on the original Xbox or something.
It was on PS2 as well.
Yeah, it might have been original Xbox and PS2. And there's a part where he fights the Shocker because they added him into the game.
That's the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it's right at the beginning of the game. And I laughed at that because you never see it because he's voicing him in the game too. Yeah. And he's like, oh, what do we call you? He's like the cushion, or something like. And now that's a good joke. That's a Spider-Man joke. I'm but they never let him do that in the movies. It felt like.
No, yeah, I definitely think Andrew Garfield hit it on the head. Especially, I love the part when the dude pulls out the knife. You found my weakness.
Yeah,
it's small knives.
Small knives. Yeah, Andrew Garfield I think was the best quipper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tom Holland's a little bit more tamed, but it's still good. He's still funny with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of those things that people don't really realize is that it's an essential superpower for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It seriously throws people off. You have heavy monologuers like Dr. Doom, who they know what they want to do. They have this plan. Will come in and he says something really stupid, and it throws them off completely. Yep. And then he's able to take them out.
Yep.
So without it, it's kind of an odd situation you get yourself in because he has those certain quirks that he has to have. He's super unlucky. In love and in life and all of those weird things. He can be bumbling, kind of in a Clark Kent kind of way, but for real. And he's got to be super funny. He's got to have that way of kind of disarming people, all the time.
Perfect example is when he first appeared, which was Avengers Civil War, correct?
For the movies, yes.
Yes.
It was Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
And he shows up and he's throwing his entire team off.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, oh, it's this really old movie that I saw once, Star Wars? And they're like, how old is this kid, bro?
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, War Machine gets fucking gunned down by Tony Stark by mistake.
Yeah.
Or rather by Vision.
Yeah.
By Vision by mistake. And it's I don't think, if he would have made that joke, in my brain, he would have more on his game. I know it's a far-reaching thing.
That one's kind of, it was kind of there are certain ones where I kind of liked his naivete and in that fight.
Well, he's a child.
He's a child, but you can also look at it from the fact that in that movie, one of my problems I always have with how they personify Spider-Man in the movies is they do not understand how strong he is. He is stupid strong in the comics.
No,
he's just always holding back. That's kind of his whole deal. But I think he can lift 40 tons or something ridiculous.
Well, when he was fighting Captain America.
Yeah.
Shortly in those scenes.
Yeah.
Captain America kicks him, he hits a support beam.
And it cracks.
And it
like,
cracks.
Yeah, the whole thing cracks
and he
open.
holds it up, and he's like, keep at it, bye.
But one of the things I loved was like when he fought Falcon and Bucky at the same time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you've seen multiple times.
You got a metal arm?
Yeah, like
that's so cool.
And you've seen through some other movies like Winter Soldier and everything how strong Bucky is. Like he hits somebody, they're going flying. He catches it effortlessly and just looks at it. And I'm like, that's the stuff I love. It's like it's very subtle. But it's like you're like, holy crap, he's really stupid strong.
Well, he breaks both of them.
Yeah, he does easily. Yeah, it's not even tough.
Like he literally beats their asses, then webs them to the floor. Bye.
And then we're off.
And I like the Falcon's like, oh, everybody's got a gimmick now.
Yeah.
Which is a good line.
He's like, is this stuff coming out of you?
Well, which I loved about Spider-Man, the third film with Doctor Strange. Yeah. Oh my God, Homecoming, not
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Yeah.
Where they're talking, and then Toby's Peter is like, no, it just comes right out of me.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, does it come out of anywhere else?
Any other places?
Yeah.
And he's like, you guys are starting to make me feel weird. He's like, no, we're just actually curious.
Yeah.
We
can't do that.
Yeah, we can't do that. We gotta make ours. So we're just more curious than anything.
Which is, it was like, even when I was a kid and I saw like the Tobey Maguire movie, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting choice because outside of him having the symbiote, which generates its own webbing, he's never had that before that I can remember. Or maybe when he was turning into Man Spider, and was growing the 6 arms and stuff.
Oh,
but it would come out of the palms.
I'm like, outside of that like he's always had web shooters, which I like personally because it adds another weakness. That either he like runs out and it's like, oh crap, I got to switch out the cartridge, or something for enemies to exploit, like Electro did to Andrew Garfield's one where he grabbed his wrist and they just exploded.
Yep.
Right.
I like that as an extra inherent weakness.
I agree.
They have.
I agree.
Also, it shows a subtle nuance to his like intelligence.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they haven't really explored that too much, especially with like the Tom Holland one, like his intelligence. I hope we see it more.
They allude to it.
Yeah, they allude to it.
The last one did a good job because he was creating the cures, like for them by himself originally, and then later on in the group. But where he's like he created the chip that was able to turn off.
Yeah, so they did show. Yeah, they did
a little bit. It's not to what like Andrew Garfield was doing because they really showed him like he could easily go into Oscorp and have a job there the next day if he really wanted to. And he's testing the different types of webbing and the insulation for his suit and all that. And you never really see that with Tobey Maguire either. It's like. He's just inherently like, I have powers, and I'm...
in part 2, when he talks to Octavius, they have that back and forth about protons and neutrons and like nuclear power and all that stuff, and holding the power of the sun in your hands. But after that and before that, it was just like, oh, you take pictures.
Yeah.
Oscorp.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then you got bit by a spider. Oh. That's cool.
Yeah.
What happened to like the meat and potatoes of the story and who you are?
I mean, he like literally in the comics, he opens the Parker Foundation, which is like curing diseases and like doing this crazy stuff. Wasn't the biggest fan of that storyline because it made him like very almost like Kamen Rider-esque and like or like very Batman also, where he's just like I got all these gizmos and I got a spider car.
I'm not a fan of that suit either. With the glowing arc center.
No, and the problem was because that storyline was right after Superior Spider-Man, and I love that suit. The black and reds.
I was about to say, when you guys are talking about Ben Reilly, that's another Spider-Man that I like besides Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Is Dr. Octavius Superior Spider-Man. I love that.
That was such a good story, that, again, they have to hit the status quo eventually, and I'm like, all right, when's Peter coming back? Because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I did like that when Spider-Verse came out, pretty much around the end, or it was right after Superior Spider-Man, they worked in because of like time travel and all this other stuff that Superior Spider-Man was still around, and Peter got to interface with his old body, and I thought, oh, that's a cool way to go about it, where Otto doesn't know that this is Peter from the future who already got his body back, so it adds an interesting layer that wasn't there before.
Yeah, it was a weird dynamic too.
Yeah,
and then you kind of find out that he's kind of in the background too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But there's a lot of things that mesh well with just Peter Parker in general.
Mm-hmm.
And how they play him out in the comics, opposed to the movies.
Yeah.
The comics is where it came from. The movies is a different take on it. The show is fucking amazing. Like, the show itself from, like, the 90s, what was it?
Oh, that was an awesome one,
yeah. And even then, I think every animated series since then has been pretty dead on, pretty awesome.
I would say, like, the two best ones are by far, the Spider-Man from the 90s, I guess the only like problem that I ever had with that was how much animation it recycled. But it was on a budget, and it had to churn that crap out. They need their Saturday morning cartoons with the X-Men and the other like that. That was like peak nerdom for me. Like when I was a kid, just eating cereal and watching those shows.
Batman animated series, Superman animated
but I would say Spectacular Spider-Man was probably one of the best adaptations that they did. And then the only reason they stopped it was that was around the time the Disney and Marvel merger happened, and they canceled that show to create the new one that came out after that.
Mighty Avengers? I'm sorry, not
no. I don't remember the name.
Mighty Avengers was part of that.
I think it was.
But it was.
I think it was Ultimate Spider-Man or whatever show that came out right after.
Might have been, yeah.
It had its moments, but it broke the fourth wall too much for my liking because I'm like that's not his thing.
Yeah.
And the animation was very similar too. Like they wanted you to kind of like transition into it easy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree. The one prior to that was actually better.
Yeah, like Spectacular was really good, and at the same time they were doing the Mighty Avengers cartoon, and that one was excellent.
Yes.
Like really, really good. So
phenomenal.
Yeah. So then when the merger happened and they canceled both of them, I'm like, I don't know if I like this. Because now they're kind of having to hit a formula that they're trying to distill.
I agree. Well, Marvel animation we talked about earlier is kind of weak, and has been up until just recently.
Yeah.
With those cartoons, except Disney took over, and it's still kind of like, we're back to teetering. On a weak and good,
which is what they do.
Yeah,
like Disney, they created animation. It's like that's their baby, and the fact that they don't throw as much money at it as they could. I don't know if it's just because like viewership isn't very good for cartoons nowadays. I don't know. I don't follow the Nielsen ratings or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But like they could do something so amazing, with that if they tapped into the right talent and the right people who want to do it, and had the right writers, obviously, because. That is one area that, people always argue, the MCU kills, the DC movies, 9 times out of 10. And I'm like, yeah, probably. They're probably more entertaining overall for, if you pick the best of the two. But I go, where DC has always slaughtered them is their animated properties.
Hands down.
It's slaughtered them,
Hands down.
You
can't even hold a torch to DC animation.
Yeah. Every single type of animation they do, too. Like, you have, what was it, Catwoman when in Rome?
Yeah.
So they did that storyline where it was like, French Nouveau meets animation.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is beautiful. And then I know where you have Gotham by Gaslight, which was very almost 90s meets modern.
It had a little bit of a style from a lot of different things, yeah.
And then you have Constantine, which is like straight up modern.
Yeah.
With 3D like shoehorned in there, but it still looks amazing.
Yeah, which again is just used to help with getting it churned out faster. Exactly. If we have 3 elements we can throw in there, way easier than somebody sitting there and drawing each frame.
Yeah, but on that same level, all 3 of those styles, some were experimental, still slaughter everything Marvel's
everything. Mm-hmm. And it's the care that again because it's Warner Brothers, so you have again a bastion of just animation. History, around it. I mean, Warner Brothers has been doing animation almost as long as Disney, in its own way, Mm-hmm. So they really leaned in against the talent, and they were willing to do whatever it took. Like Batman the Animated Series, for example, was directly inspired by the Max Fleischer Superman cartoons that came out, back the 50s? Yeah. So they looked at that, and I'm like, and I will say, you take anything modern today and you compare it to that, and it looks like garbage. Max Fleischer's animation is God tier, when it comes to that. So them just taking that as the inspiration of, I want this, but Batman, and doing that was a stroke of genius. And that's why, like, when you look at, like, the backgrounds, and you and I talked about this before, all the backgrounds in Batman the Animated Series were painted on black paper. Yep. All of them, because all of it's vibrant then, and the colors pop. But it's also, almost every scene in that series takes place at night. So it makes sense to do it that way.
Yep. So then you have all that going on. Mm-hmm. Marvel can't keep up. People are like, Marvel movies are more superior in every superhero fashion. But it's like, not really. If you really put in perspective, if you're talking about 2 different tiers, I would take DC animation over Marvel movies any day.
Always.
Which is a very bold take.
No, I would too. Easily.
But I'd say,
you could take the best MCU movie. And to me, that's probably Winter Soldier. I would say it's my favorite because it's like
mine as well.
Yeah, it's almost like they made a Metal Gear movie, but they put Captain America in it instead, which is what I like about it. That's one of my all-time favorite game franchises. And you put that up against, like, let's say Mask of the Phantasm. And I will watch Mask of the Phantasm every single
50
time.
times over, yeah.
I will watch that every single time. Or Under the Red Hood. Or, you can pick, there's a lot of them that you can pick from, and I was like, I'd much prefer to watch that movie.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So it always, again, I am super appreciative of what the MCU has done because it's unheard of.
Right.
They've made more movies with the same characters than James Bond. And that's probably the longest running continuity. You can use that however you want because they've switched actors a million times, but it's still one kind of continuous storyline.
No,
and it's really never been done before. I the closest maybe second is Rocky. Or something, some movie to that effect.
Absolutely right,
but nobody's been able to do it before, so it's amazing that they were able to pull it off. But you're starting to see it a bit now.
It's starting, yeah. When we talked about this last episode with the superhero fatigue that we're getting, and we need more quality, not quantity. They're just trying to push out too much right now, and especially with the shows as well, adding on to it. I just feel like they're oversaturating it, and I feel like they need to get back on the ball sooner rather than later because James Gunn and DC is not playing around. As soon as, I mean, not even just their first official project, but just The Flash. I want to see how good The Flash does.
It looks pretty good too. Yeah.
And I've heard nothing but great things about it. MCU should be worried because DC, what they have in their properties and their superheroes can really not just blow Marvel out of the water, but can give them a real run for their money. And I think they're kind of taking them a little lightly. And like how you said, James Gunn's just going to go over there and be like, all right, this is what worked at Disney. This is what didn't. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put my spin on it, which I've been doing, which has been successful with Peacemaker, Guardians,
everything he touches,
the Suicide Squad, anything he touches turns who would honestly? How many people would take the Suicide Squad and think to put Starro as in their movie?
That was genius, by the way. Genius.
Or just even some of the character choices that he decided to put in there. Because again, he's kind of like us. He's like us. He picks the characters that nobody cares about. Like
Polka Dot Man?
Yeah, arms fall off boy, or stupid.
Detachable.
Or whatever, but that's the basis of But any of those, I'm like, there's no way anybody should make a movie with these people, Weasel, and it should ever work. But he did, and it's awesome.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So I am happy. The minute I heard he took over, I'm like, oh, I am so excited to see what he does. And of course, you have the people who are very Snyder fanatics, and they're like, no, you got to let him finish his thing. And I'm like, there's things I liked that he did, and other things that I don't. As a massive Superman fan. I'll step it back a second. For The Flash, what I really like about what they're doing with that movie is, number one, they're taking one of the best storylines they've had in a decade, which is Flashpoint.
Oh, yes.
And
almost 2 decades.
Oh, is it now?
Is it?
Think about that for a second. It's almost 2 decades.
No way.
I guess you're right. It's at least 15 years, I think. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Now I feel really old.
I know.
We're the same age. Man.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy.
But So okay, we'll see. 15 years.
You're creeping up.
Yeah, I'm creeping.
Yeah. And they took that storyline, which again was everybody loved that storyline when it first came out. It blew everybody's minds. And they're taking some of the things that work the best, not only from Snyder's run, but also just in DC in general. And bringing in Michael Keaton, obviously, that just is fan bait right there. Everybody's going to want to go see that just for him. Yep. But the things that I like Michael Shannon, awesome Zod. Very good Zod. I mean, there are parts of Man of Steel that I do not like at all. Even though I love Kevin Costner, I think he's an amazing actor. He was not utilized. He is not utilized well in that movie at all. The one line that just irritates me to no end is where Clark saves the kids in the bus from drowning and shows his powers, obviously. And he's like, well, what was I supposed to do, Dad? Let him drown? He goes, yeah, kind of. And I'm like, Pa Kent in no universe would ever say that.
Yeah.
He would be like, no, you did the right thing. You did what you were meant to be on this planet for, Yeah. And then the thing that I think just irritates me, because I'm a big fan of the Christopher Reeves, the first 2 movies, obviously. And an important lesson that Superman Clark learns in that movie, when his dad dies of a heart attack, is there's certain things I can't save people from. Like, there is a limit to my powers and my abilities, right? Kevin Costner gets caught in a tornado, you know? And if there's one thing that Superman can save people from, it's a goddamn tornado. Like, that...
Yeah,
I agree.
That part of the movie, he was just like, waved them off. Just no. Like, but dude.
Yeah, like, nobody will see. Nobody will see it.
Yeah, like...
You know? So, like, there were some, like, you know, challenge, and then people get mad. It's like, oh, well, he killed Zod, you know, at the end of that movie. And I'm like, there was no other choice.
Options, yeah.
The Phantom Zone did not exist. You know, what do you do with him? Like, there's nothing you can do. Like,
he says it too. He's like, there's only one thing you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he knows.
And he starts...
Yeah.
He's like, okay, cool.
So I'm like, Superman has killed in the comics before. It's rare, but it does happen, and you can see it ripped him apart. You know. So yeah, there are certain things I think that he did really well. There are others that I'm like, why did you make that choice? Like, very odd. But I think they're distilling in this Flash movie the best of what the Snyder universe had, and just kind of like the greatest hits. You know, like
James Gunn said it's going to be the bridge between both universes,
which makes sense because it's exactly what Flashpoint did. It ended that current reign of DC Comics and it moved it into the New 52.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what the point of it was. And then they later on were like, well, the New 52 is not really doing that well. We'll do Rebirth now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 52 was what?
It's like 4 or 5
years.
No, it was like 4 or 5 years, I think.
New 52.
I think the New 52 didn't last that long.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because Batman only had like 50-something issues.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, also remember Trinity.
Yeah.
Trinity was another thing that happened during the New 52 era.
Yeah. So there, I don't think it lasted very long. If I remember.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I mixed it up because it was 2007, 8.
I don't even remember.
I want to say that New 52 started.
Might have been later than that.
Maybe a little bit later than that, and then 2017 was Rebirth.
Yeah.
Or 615.
Yeah, I think it was like 16.
And that was because they were like looking at like, we probably they did certain things with the characters that like I liked what they were doing with Batman, especially when Scott Snyder took over and Greg Capullo. I'm like, that's maybe the greatest writing duo.
100%.
Yeah, like in a very long time on that.
Yeah.
That's like Neil Adams. Denny O'Neil.
I'll say this beats out Neil Adams.
I would say they're definitely like, you know, for what the eras they were in, it's the equivalent, right? You know, of them. I would say the stories I like a lot more from the Scott Snyder, you know, universe. Like Court of Owls, like, you know, that.
I was literally just about
that. I'm like, that's one of the greatest storylines, you know, that they've come out with.
By the way, respectfully to Neil Adams, he passed away last year.
Yeah. Oh,
very sad about
amazing artist. I met him in person. Super lovely guy. He was able to sign some books for me, and we talked at length. I think I talked to him for like an hour about different books and stuff like that. Man, he did Muhammad Ali versus Superman. How can you not love that?
Yeah.
You know, it's just as absurd as that sounds, you know.
He was a very big fan of cranking out art quick because he knew that there was timelines and deadlines that he had to meet. So he's like, I remember, I was like, what's your biggest advice for an up-and-coming artist, especially in the comic game? He's like, the light table is your best friend.
Oh,
I'm like,
of course
yes, because animators, that's what you live by.
Oh, yeah, because you have to go image to image and understand where, but also, the human anatomy is a tough thing to...
It's one of the hardest things.
So for him to find a model in a magazine or something that's like, I like that pose, and then to trace over it and then add all the detail, there's nothing wrong with that. And if anybody ever tells you differently, they are wrong. You know, that is an essential tool for an artist. And it also teaches you. Maybe down the line you won't need that. Because now you built the muscle memory and the skills needed for it. But it is an essential need for in the beginning, especially to be able to do that. And to your point, people have timetables. You know, I got to crank this out in a week. You know, I'll take anything that helps me get to that deadline that I need to hit. You know,
100%. And when I met Neil and he told me all these things, I was just like floored because it was like I was surrounded by artists at the time who were just like also comic book artists and other avenues of art that they were doing. And they're like, nope, you have to have a live model, and that's it, blah, blah, blah. And here's Neil, the legend, going, no, that's cool. But if you want to get it done fast and efficient, this is how you do it. And it's like, told you. I just sat back there like I told you.
I've seen artists, like especially like one of the things that I've never been good at is backgrounds, like buildings, things of that nature, like geometry. I'm terrible. I'm better with like loose, you know, drawings like of characters and things like that. And you'll see artists today, I've watched a few of them, they'll actually build out backgrounds in Blender first, and then they'll print them out and then light trace over them, you know, for the actual like issues and stuff. And I'm like, again, it's not cheating in any way. You're using the tools available to you to replicate something that would have probably taken you 3 times longer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Through a traditional mean.
Yep.
No issues with that.
We're going to pause for 1 second. I just need to make sure that we are still rolling.
Okay.
Because this is the first time we use this mechanic.
Yeah.
We are still indeed rolling.
Okay,
So we're good.
I like it.
We're good.
No last effort here.
So, while we're on the topic, well, we jumped from topic to topic, but we're going to go back onto a topic. Who do you think they should cast for Fantastic Four?
Oh wow, that's
This is something we talked about in the last one. I want to see your take on this.
So I know that the rumor is that Adam Driver is supposed to be Reed Richards.
I hope not.
I like Adam Driver. I think he's very good in some of the things I've seen him in. And again, I was not a fan of the last Star Wars trilogy. We could go through that in another topic.
Oh yeah, that's a whole. We got.
And Kylo Ren is one of the reasons for it, but that is not his fault. That is just the script and the way that they decided. But I think he's a very good actor. Is he Reed Richards? Not really. Not in my head. I do not see it. I think John Krasinski.
Doom?
Which one?
Adam Driver's Doom?
Maybe. Yeah,
I see it more than Reed.
I see it more than Reed also, and Doom's a tough one. He's my all-time favorite Marvel villain, and I use that in quotes because it's based on interpretation of how you want to look at it.
Yeah.
But he is by far one of my all-time favorite Marvel characters, and if they didn't already use Mads Mikkelsen in Doctor Strange, he would probably have been my go-to.
Oh.
Yeah, because he
What
played
a misuse
Kaiserius.
of an actor. You're so right.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's got that menacing quality,
man,
and like
you're
take the Hannibal, mentality that he had in that, and you insert that into Doom, and you got it right there.
I think that's why I never even pictured Mads Mikkelsen, because he did
Kaiserius.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
and it's like, damn.
It's funny because they just had Matt Nicholson recast Johnny Depp as Grindelwald in
oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic Beasts, and having seen him,
He
man,
played him well.
him as Grindelwald was great. Nothing to take away from Johnny Depp what he did to that rendition of the character. But
He plays good evil characters.
Yeah, but Grindelwald, him as Grindelwald, Mads is awesome. I love
that. Would have been my first choice, but now we are where we are right now, and Reed is a tough one.
Reed is tough.
You know what? Hugo Weaving would have been a great Doctor Doom too.
Yeah, I can see that. I do really like him as Red Skull.
I do like him as Red Skull. Yeah, you're right.
He's like, I'm a great fan of your films. Like, I love that line. It's just like
he's great. Yeah,
he's very good. But Reed is probably one of the toughest ones I can think of to cast because Reed is considered to be one of the smartest people in the Marvel universe. He's up there with Dinosaur Girl and a bunch of other weird characters who are touted to have stupid high intelligence.
Even his daughter.
Yeah,
who he said was
Vera, right? Or Valeria, that's her name. Yeah. And Franklin, are both supposed to be incredible.
And Franklin's even smarter than both.
Yeah, he's so well, and he's got reality bending abilities, and he's ridiculous in and of itself. He rebooted the whole Marvel universe once, into something that nobody really liked. Yeah, I think it was Reborn. It started with an R. I can't remember that, and nobody liked it, and then they reverted it back, just saying, "Oh, it was just a joke." But Reed is he's this weird mixture of I'm the smartest man in the room, but I'm also socially just the most aloof guy ever. He doesn't understand normal social conventions, and that's a really hard thing as an actor to balance. So I like Krasinski. I think he has the
personified.
Look. I think he definitely has the look for it, but you can't tell. He had 3 lines, in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he had a look.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah.
If one asks you, do your kids have another parent to take care of them?
Yeah.
What is your reaction at that point?
When somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I'm gonna die, huh?
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen right now, huh? Read the room. That was the quickest way to read it.
Yeah. Not the smartest guy there.
No.
Yeah, there. So I think I'd like to see Krasinski with a full script, a full movie behind him. I think he's a really good candidate, and maybe it's just because I've already seen him. It's a hard one in my head to recast. I can't.
Agreed.
I can't think of a good actor right off the top of my head for this one.
Yeah,
Daniel Craig was supposed to be in the running.
Craig was supposed to be in the running for
I don't know how I feel about that.
I think he's too short.
I mean, I never really cared.
Like,
I mean,
we're
it's
gonna
like
go and play that game.
it's like Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. He's way too tall, but you know, it's
fair because Wolverine's 5'2".
Oh, he's a munchkin.
5'1".
Yeah, he's
like
he's
a
a little
cannibal.
roly poly. He'll fling himself at you. You know? He's almost like taller. He's a little taller than like Puck.
I would say he's taller by a little bit.
Yeah, so you know, you take that how you will. But yeah, I'm going to stick with Krasinski right now, just because my brain can't seem to process a better actor at the moment who fits it. And I've seen the different people picked out, you know, that they've been talking about for Sue. The one that I liked the most that I heard, because like I heard like Mila Kunis out there and so on, was Jodie Comer, who's from Killing Eve. And she was also in New Guy. She played the main girl in New Guy, the Ryan Reynolds movie, the video game one.
Fall Guy.
Free Guy.
Free
Guy. Thank you. Yeah, all the guys.
All the guys.
The video game one with Ryan Reynolds. That's the one I'm talking about. Thank you. Yeah. She was the main one in that. And if you ever seen her in Killing Eve, she's a phenomenal actress. Like really, really good. And she kind of has the look, in my opinion. So I like her. And then they also talked about, I don't remember her name, but she was the main actress in Megan. Who the girl lives with, the aunt that the.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Not bad. I thought about it. I'm like, she does kind of have the look also. So I think she would be.
I want to stay with old fan cast Emily Blunt.
I like Emily Blunt too. I mean, if you do the two of them, I think that fits. But
well, apparently now Margot Robbie has officially been offered the role.
I don't like Margot Robbie in that role.
I want that.
I don't think I want it either.
I don't,
especially when you like I said last episode. When you think about Margot Robbie and Adam Driver trying to sell Marvel's first family as Sue Storm and Reed Richards, like it just doesn't.
And they're hard characters for modern, you know, audiences to enjoy. They were made like with very 60s sensibilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and there's a reason their comics do not sell well anymore.
Yeah,
I like it because it's very like I have a weird affinity for like Johnny Quest and like that type of dynamic,
same.
Like the globetrotting scientist.
I love what they did with DC.
Yeah,
when they re-released all that.
Yeah,
when it was what was Rebirth. When they started doing Rebirth and they started releasing the storylines, that was fantastic.
Yeah,
I feel like okay again.
Yeah, like that's the kind of like weird, like I'm kind of old fashioned in that way, but I love like old scientific globe-trotting adventures. You know, that's what made them popular in that time period, but not so much today because nobody really cares about that. You know, or it's a very niche audience that you're tailoring it to me. I'm not gonna help you sell your movie. That's difficult, you know. But and to your point, getting the right actors to sell that is incredibly tough. And I don't think those two are good ones. Like Margot Robbie, again, very, very talented actor, you know, in her own right. She's probably, in my head, like the first person I thought of who I would cast her as is like Emma Frost. Like
1,000,000%. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I could see that.
That was the first like image in my head is like she would be a really good Emma Frost. Like
wow, that didn't even cross my mind, but I hope.
Yeah, once they actually do the X-Men and all that, I think that's
the Queen of Diamonds.
Yeah, I think she would sell that awesome. Like she'd do a really good job. But Sue Storm, I like Emily Blunt. I think is definitely a better choice if you're going to go for it.
I think if you keep Krasinski, you have to have Emily Blunt.
I mean, I'm not against it.
And they're married, I believe, right?
They are.
Yeah. So that's a perfect dynamic because they already have the family dynamic.
Yeah, they're married. Yeah, they already
have the chemistry.
Yeah.
Plus, you need, like you said, you need Sue Storm to really ground Reed Richards.
Yeah. Because she, unlike Reed, again, smart in her own right as a character, but she is definitely the most social. She understands how a normal human needs to act, and she's
almost like the underlying leader.
Yeah.
Because it's Richard, but she's the one who keeps him grounded and makes sure everything's copacetic.
She's also the most powerful in that group by far. By far.
That too.
Yeah, so, and again, it's you don't know it until she needs to use it, you know, kind of thing. So, yeah,
You know what, though? I know the original movies were horrible. But they played, even though she's a bad actress, they wrote her properly.
Sue Storm was right in the movie, and again, I don't have a problem with Jessica Alba. She's not right for Sue Storm. I will say that, but she's I've seen her in other things, and I'm like, yeah, she's good, like Sin City and other things like that. You know, she's definitely has her movies that I very much enjoy. Not casted well at all in that particular movie,
but written very perfect.
Yeah, written really well. Everybody in that movie was written well. It's, in the first one, I don't really have a huge problem with the first Fantastic Four movie.
Me either.
Doom is questionable in that, again, as just somebody who really loves Doom, but I understand they got to make him the standard villain, for those types of movies back then. The second one's obviously just not good. It is not. That is like
the Galactus Cloud.
Yeah. And they did that.
Yeah, that's like on par with like
the Parallax Cloud, like in Green Lantern.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I was gonna say that's like the clouds on par with like the Wolverine Deadpool with the swords coming.
Yeah.
The Baraka Deadpool. There we go.
Yeah,
the Baraka pool.
They take the character who's known as the Merc with the mouth, and they took away his ability to speak.
Yeah, took away his ability to speak. Awesome.
So you really understand your character super well when you do that.
Shout out to Fox.
But I will say, best casting, Michael Chiklis as the Thing.
Oh, always. Yeah.
Like again, I'm not
gonna got that role.
No.
He introduced himself to Stan Lee, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Ben."
Oh, that's smart.
And it was just like,
I'm the lovable blue-eyed thing.
Oh my god!
Yeah. But and again, nothing against I think I would cast him again today. Why not? He's got the best voice for it. It didn't help that he had like essentially a Power Rangers like suit that they made him for those movies, but
it still looked cool though.
It still didn't look bad. It wasn't terrible. It was corny.
CG.
Those movies were corny to begin with, so you can get away with it.
But
But
it's better than the CG version of the thing that we got with this last iteration of the Fantastic Four, which was
I never saw that movie.
You're not missing.
I didn't want to because of what they did with Doom.
I saw clips of the movie. I've never sat down and watched it. 1, 2, you can see the fucking green screen.
Oh really?
Certain
it's like when the boom comes into the frame, like into the mic.
It's so bad. And I remember seeing that. That was solely on never watching that movie. It's like there's a scene where the thing is throwing something, and you just see the flash of green.
It's like the coffee cup in Game of Thrones. Yeah.
What? You couldn't just cover that? Are you serious? So yeah, I'm never gonna watch that movie.
I saw it, and again, I didn't mind the changes that they were making. I never mind that because I always look at most of these movies as Elseworlds anyway. It's like this isn't the comic that I read. You got to take it. You got to strip it away from the original a little bit. But it was so bad. Like the trailers to it were so bad that I'm like, I don't think I can physically sit through this. Like I've only walked out of I think one movie in my life. Which one?
X3.
You walked out of X3.
I walked out of X3.
It's bad.
At what point?
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. That's probably where
I made it that far.
Yeah.
I laughed, and then I technically sat through the whole movie, but I walked out right when Wolverine was walking up to Jean Grey, and he's just getting bits and pieces.
Oh yeah, he's like just shedding skin.
And I'm like, I'm done. I was like, this is as far as it needs to go for me. I'm done. I hate this movie from the beginning to now. I'm done. And this girl was dating at the time. She's like, well, let's just watch. I'm sure there's not going to that much. I was like, I've seen enough.
My soul can't take it.
I've wanted to vomit since we stepped in here. I'm done.
Yeah.
Because X2 was such a phenomenal film. You did X3 and you were like,
X2 is the best one.
Well, kill Scott within the first 3 minutes.
It was Brett Rayner, right? It was
Brett Ratner.
Ratner, thank you. Yeah. Now I'm thinking Kyle Rayner, that's why. But yeah,
not in the same league.
No, definitely worlds apart there. Yeah, mine was the Kick-Ass.
I love Kick-Ass.
I walked out of the film.
No.
I really liked the original book, and the main reason why was because of how grounded it was. It's
kind of fucked up.
It gets crazy later on, but the original storyline, is so grounded. In what would happen if an idiot decided to put on a suit and go start fighting crime for real. And I really liked that. And it was the part in the movie where he shows up with a jetpack on and is flying around.
You did the same thing I did with X-Men.
Yeah.
X3.
I sat there and I'm like...
Last 10 minutes of the movie.
And I'm like, because it destroyed the conceit of what the story is meant to be for me. And I'm like, I can't watch this, man. It's it's hurting me. So I just walked out of the theater. I'm like, I'll see you guys. I'm going to go grab a drink. I'll see you guys when you're done.
Yeah, you and I had the very same exact...
Yeah.
Last 10 minutes of the film, it's like, I've sat through enough. I'm done. I'm going to see the ending.
I'm like, I took as much as I could.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever walked out of a movie. I don't think I've ever gotten to that point.
Unjustifiably, Spider-Man 3 was another one I did that with.
It hurt.
Watching it now older, and understanding that it actually is a very good comic book movie.
It's very...
On the literal term. It's a comic book movie grounded within the comics and the quirkiness of the comics.
And
played on screen that looked like shit.
and if you think about like what the studio like forced Sam Raimi to do with
Yes.
that movie, the fact that it came out anywhere like it did, like you could call it decent, you could call it crap, whatever. It's still better than it had any right to be for what they forced him to do, because he just wanted to do Sandman. He's like, it's a Sandman movie.
We're gonna shoehorn Venom in there.
Yeah, and Green Goblin.
And Green Goblin.
Yeah, the second Green Goblin, and it's just like, there's no way you can make a cohesive story with this, and tell Venom's story in a single movie is impossible, in my opinion. Like, because you need to have him enough time with the black suit to show that he's starting to go bad, to show, and then like the end of the movie should have been him getting the suit, Eddie Brock being webbed up underneath the bell, getting the suit, and then that's where the movie ends, and okay, Venom's the next one, and this is going to be awesome.
And let's not even start on Topher Grace. Topher Grace did what he could.
Yeah, it's another one.
Ruined his career.
Yeah.
Because that movie single-handedly completely destroyed his career. And then he didn't have the size, man.
No, he's not Eddie Brock. Because Eddie Brock,
no.
Venom makes him obviously way larger than a human could ever be. But Eddie Brock was a linebacker. He played football.
And he was a bodybuilder.
Yeah, he's a bodybuilder, a linebacker. Like, you need a guy who could definitely play that. Like, almost like a Rock physique, The
guy from Troy, in the first fight that Troy does, Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And he stabs the giant in the neck and all
Yeah,
this stuff. That guy, as Eddie Brock.
Yeah, okay. You know what I thought, though, through that whole movie the first time I saw it, is like, Topher Grace would make a pretty good Peter Parker.
Yes.
I sat down, I'm like, if they recast Peter and used him, not against it. He's kind of got the build for it, and the sensibility.
Well, back then.
Yeah, back then.
Now
obviously, no way now.
Yeah.
But I was like, kind of a missed opportunity there, I thought. I'm like, he's pretty good.
I almost would have preferred him, seeing him in action. I'm going to get eaten alive by people that hear this. I almost preferred him as Peter Parker, visually, than Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Tobey's got a very unique look. Yeah, no, that's okay. Whatever. And mind you, I love those movies. I grew up with them. They Sam Raimi built what the MCU is essentially now. He's the framework that everything else was built off of back then. That and the original X-Men movie. Like those are definitely like the building blocks. Yeah, to all of this. So, but to the point, like he plays like the aloof Peter pretty well. But like, he doesn't have the certain personality traits that like Andrew Garfield kind of personifies really well, But I think Topher Grace, given the opportunity, probably would have knocked it out pretty well.
Well, that 70s show, he was all about quips and one-liners and all this stuff. So yeah, seeing him play a Peter Parker would have been fantastic.
I feel like he could also have been like a version of the Hobgoblin too. Like that would have been better.
My favorite.
Yeah, that would have been better.
My favorite Spider-Man villain.
Ned?
Oh, mine is Doc Ock.
Him being Ned?
Well, Roderick Kingsley is my favorite.
Robert,
is my favorite version of Hobgoblin, but there's a million of them. There's Ulrich. I forgot his full name.
That was the third one.
Yeah, and I like that because he bought the Hobgoblin costume from the guy who sells all the different costumes. I can't remember his name now either.
Not the Tinker.
No.
Oh my God! Jesus.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. It's
like
he's like a broker. Like
well, they just showed him the She-Hulk.
Oh,
series, yeah.
Yeah. It's like the Shadow Broker, almost.
Yeah.
Like they're getting like these already predefined costumes and power sets, and they just sell them off to whoever wants to buy them. Which I was like, that's a kind of a cool conceit, that they'll do that. But yeah, Roderick Kingsley was my favorite because for like the longest time, I mean, he's probably like, I think it was like 10 years before they even knew who Hobgoblin was. Like it's the longest, like it was like the longest running secret in comics for a really long time that nobody knew who Hobgoblin was.
Well, wasn't the Spider-Man's known for that because Chameleon was another one.
Yeah, I don't even remember what Chameleon's real identity is.
Chameleon was another one. Demi-Goblin's another one.
Demi-Goblin. That was it. I just remember that one a lot, just mainly due to the Maximum Carnage game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's in that.
So Marvel's really good with that.
Yeah, they'll hold on to it for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, DC obviously has done that with the Joker forever. They're like, we're never going to tell you.
And they never should.
Jack Napier?
No. Or there's 3 of them. They did that storyline.
The 3 Jokers?
Yeah,
the 3 Jokers. Yeah,
which is interesting. I don't know how much I liked it, but it was an interesting.
Yeah, the way it ended was a little anticlimactic.
Yeah.
A little. I'm sorry, I had to look at you like cross-eyed right now, like a little. It was weak. It was weak.
There are certain stories that like are really like I remember reading like Final Crisis when that first came out.
Also weak.
Yeah, really. And I read them as they came out, like periodically, you know, month to month. I read them all, and I was like, man, this story is garbage. Like this is really bad. And then I remember I went to MegaCon one year, and the writers were there who you know wrote Final Crisis, and they just had come out with the compilation, so I could read the whole thing. And there were questions from the audience type thing, and I'm like. I'm like, why is it so bad? You know, like essentially, I was pretty young. I was probably like 21 or something when Final Crisis. Yeah. Like, why is it?
Dude, was that 2005 or 4?
It might have been, yeah, right around there.
I think I was at that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I was like, yeah, I'm like, why is it so bad? And they're like, well, if you read it month to month, it's hard. They're like, we'll admit it's hard to piece the story together. And I'm like, I literally just read it front to back through the graphic novel that just came out. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I'm like, you tell me. I'm only going to ask you one part of this story, and you tell me why this is supposed to make sense to me as the reader. You have this super anti vampire character who's supposed to be the anti-Monitor, but he's a vampire now. Like that's the new design or whatever. And I'm like, and he's your main villain, and the story as you're telling it to me is you're gathering Superman from every single one of the 52 universes to fight him. Cool, on board, I get it. Like, you need the strongest characters and they all team up. But then as you gather them, there's like all the dumb ones that are there. Like you have like all the different ones. You have Captain Carrot and all the stupid versions of Superman out there. Hal Jordan comes out of left field and stabs him in the chest with a stake made out of Green Lantern energy and kills him. So explain that storyline to me. Like you're building up to something, and then he dies in one panel. You know?
I think the only thing that they did was introduce. They introduced Superboy Prime there, no?
No, that was Infinite Crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. No, there's nothing good there.
Yeah,
there's nothing good there.
They couldn't really answer me, or that I can remember. It was a while ago, but I was just like, guys, this is a dumb story. That's really not good. You made it.
DC made it up.
Yeah.
4 years later, with Identity Crisis.
Identity Crisis was awesome.
Rags Morales and
that was Brad Meltzer, I think, wrote that, and he's a great writer. So yeah, when you get the right people on the right project,
I'll say that team up right there.
Yeah,
one of the top tier team ups.
Yeah,
in comics.
Well, and it was such a good murder mystery.
Yes,
because like, how did Sue Dibney die? Like that was like the whole like concession of the story. And why? Yeah. Oh,
turns out jealousy.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, it usually is.
Yeah, it's like, damn, bro, what?
But yeah, it was to me super interesting, and like Final Crisis to me was somebody in a writer's room said, what would be really cool to do in a comic, and somebody's like, Darkseid killing Batman. I'm like, all right, how do we get there? How do we get the story to that point? Yep. And then Batman killing Darkseid. So it's like them killing each other. Yeah. So, and I'm just like, but that story is so nonsensical that I don't know how it got published.
Well, you know what's crazy though? Like, you have those storylines, and then you have like Batman and Superman.
Yeah, which are hilarious a lot of the time.
Great.
Yeah.
Great, with Ed McGuinness.
Yeah.
And then the first run, and who was writing it?
God, I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It wasn't Lee Meyer, because Lee Meyer wasn't even part of the comic scene back then.
But
it has a very Lee Meyer-esque feel to it.
Yeah. But like, because you have like the old ones like World's Finest that they did. And what was the one?
They have a new World's Finest coming out.
Oh, they do?
Or it's already dropped like a few, I think it's 12 issues already so far. It's very good. It's very good.
I'll let you check.
Still going.
All right.
We're good. I think. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fair. We should be looking at it.
We got 10 minutes left, but go ahead.
Okay. No, I was going to say, if you never read a really good Batman-Superman story, was Public Enemies. And they actually made an animated movie about it as well. But I'd read the comic. It's better.
Yeah.
But that one's really good. Is where Lex Luthor becomes president of the United States and then puts out essentially like a bounty on Superman and Batman because they killed Metallo. It was like the storyline.
That was the opening sequence.
Yeah.
Metallo getting destroyed and killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. So they put out like a bounty on them, and they told all the supervillains out there, we'll pay you to capture these two and bring them in. So really cool story idea right off the bat, but just amazing fights. There were different weird fights that they did.
Well, they had 3 arcs. It was World's Finest,
Yeah.
Public Enemies.
Yeah, and there was a third one that had Supergirl in it.
Bad Zorro.
Oh, yeah, that one too,
That was the third arc.
There was one with Supergirl and Darkseid, though.
That's Public Enemy.
No, that was after Public Enemy. They made another movie about it. Now I can't remember the name. It's like Apocalypse or
and
something.
Michael Turner was the one that that drew the entire thing.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. He died like right after that too.
Yeah, it was something right around there. Yeah, but I just really like that book because like it throws you off all the time. Like in it, like so there's a part where Superman and Batman have to fight Shazam, or back then Captain Marvel, as he was named back then, and Hawkman. And I was like, oh, that's a cool fight.
I remember that.
So Batman and Hawkman are fighting, and Shazam and Superman are fighting, and then there's a part where Batman looks at Superman and he goes, castling, which is a chess term, where it's like, we're going to switch the opponents. We're going to switch who we're fighting. So Superman starts fighting Hawkman, and Batman starts fighting Shazam on it.
And that was such a good breakdown at that point.
Yeah, and it was like a really cool idea because like, the different power sets versus each other, and they're doing it, and we're like, oh, that's really interesting. And then when Shazam and Hawkman show up to Luthor with the bodies of Batman and Superman, and they're holding them. The castling wasn't the fact they changed opponents; it was the fact they knocked them out and they switched costumes.
Bodies, yeah.
So Superman's dressed up as Shazam, and Batman's dressed up as Hawkman, and then they were able to get the jump on Luthor. And I was like, "Cool!
Yeah,
that's a cool version."
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
I just bought the omnibus not that long ago.
I think I have that too. Yeah,
it's really good. And then the World's Finest New One's really good. It's a similar take on that.
Okay.
Just updated artwork.
Okay. I'll have
like
to take a
very
look
George
at it.
Jimenez is
Who doesn't
work,
like that? Yeah.
So, we got about 6 minutes left.
Okay.
So, if we go on to another topic, it's going to go on for another like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
So, we're going to save that for the next week.
Yeah.
If we're all good in accordance. And maybe next week we get a special guest, which I will reveal at next week's podcast. We'll just say that.
Okay. I'm excited.
And, I think just to explain to everybody here why we changed up the format. The live feed format, we could reach 13 to like 30 people at a time, which is cool. We get our loyal viewers every once in a while. But, unfortunately, you don't get that much track. Like, you don't get like that much threading on everything. You don't get traction on everything. So, we opted to do a weekly podcast. And now, it seems like Rob's on board with us, 100%. So, this is going to be great.
Oh,
I'm
awesome.
stoked.
Yeah, I'll come every time I can. Yeah.
And then we're going to be bringing in everybody that you saw before, as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
So that means Kenny Calderon, which has worked for Marvel, doing
Very
the
cool.
Fleer cards and all that other stuff. He also owns a production company called Wildings Productions,
Okay.
which does independent comic book work. We're going to bring on Angel, which is Son of a Saint.
Mm-hmm.
He does movie posters for up-and-coming movies. He did one for Netflix not that long ago. We can bring on some cinematographers like Christian Santiago, which we've talked about. He's worked on a lot of projects, Netflix, documentaries, all that sort of stuff. We can bring him on board as well. He's a giant nerd when it comes down to gaming, especially Zelda.
Oh, I know a lot about Zelda too.
Zelda and Smash Brothers, which is another very big video
Smash
game
Bros. Best game.
about it. Yeah. But we decided to do this mostly so we can reach out to more people, and we want to know what you guys think about the podcast in the comments. Like, good critiques, not like, that was funny lit and stuff like that. No, like, give us like topics, give us stuff that you want us to talk about, and then every once in a while we'll do a live feed, same format.
Mm-hmm.
Bring everybody on, and we'll let you guys know ahead of time so that we can mark it on your calendars and just check it out. But mostly, you're going to see that every week. As well as Justin will be doing shorts every week through the Instagram, which is pop_link. I'm sorry, _pop_link_. There you go. And then Rob, you'll be joining us, which is going to be great because we can talk about stuff like we just did, which is really in detail, really interesting. Because we open up the doors to whoever hasn't read these storylines, and we give you a taste of what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know?
There's a reason we love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we could share that and you find something new, that's all for the better. You know?
Exactly. And then I'll be doing video blogging with my artwork, both tattooing and painting. weekly. If not, twice a week. I'll see how fast I can get it done. But it's all about the quality, not the quantity. So, and I'll be doing that. You'll see me post on my Instagram, which is XORART. And we're just going to continue creating content for you guys so that way you guys can have a plethora of things you can go into with us. So, well, from Pop Link,
Yes.
we are
Rob?
Justin.
Xavier. And see you guys next week.
Next
Later.
week. Later, guys.